What's poppin', y'all? It's your boy Pee Wee the Plug, 1/4 through the wire, number one Knicks fan in the world, aka Mr. Know It All, and this is my favorite time of the year. The offseason is almost finally here. We still got the conference finals going on. Pretty soon we'll be in the NBA finals, but we've already had a trade. The draft lottery, we have the results, and now the draft is approaching us along with free agency. And this is my favorite time. I love player movement and trades and free agency. And then I love the draft. You know what I mean? These guys are guys that I've watched for years. If you're a basketball fan like me, you watch all levels of basketball, which means you watching these guys when they're in high school, climbing the ranks, becoming McDonald All-Americans, deciding which college they want to go to, or taking a unique route like Jalen Green, Kaminga, Isaiah Todd, Deshaun Nix, and playing with G League Ignite, and to ultimately get drafted and hear their name called and then come to the league and build a legacy. And it's always crazy for me, especially the last few years, as I've reached real adulthood and become substantially older than the guys who are getting drafted. It's always like, man, one of these drafts is going to be my kid's GOAT. The same way like LeBron and my generation, that's the GOAT for us. My dad and his generation is Michael Jordan. Part of my generation, because I'm a 90s baby, is Kobe. And then you got the 2000s are like Kobe. So pretty soon, one of these draft classes is going to have the guy that my children will recognize or acknowledge as their GOAT, which is mind-blowing to me because I've always watched older guys get drafted. Now I'm older than these guys, and they're about to be millionaires. They have 40-inch verticals and all type of things. But here we are. I'm about to do my mock draft. We're going to do 1 through 14, just a lottery, and then in part 2, we'll get 15 and 30 to wrap up the first round. But before we get started, I do want to give a special shout out to I hope I'm not butchering your name right, but I think it's Aishan. He sent me a DM, which I'm gonna place right here, telling me about this website to do the mock drafts on. And I won't lie, I think I've seen some other people use this, but he gave me the idea, and he's the message that made me say, you know what, I'm gonna use it in my video when I do my mock. So shout out to him. But let's get started. So again, my favorite time of the year. These are all guys in this class that I've known about for at least 3 years now. I really start to pay attention to guys early on in our high school careers. Depending on who you are, we may know, basketball fans may know you as a freshman. Some of us, you may blossom up onto the scene as a junior, a sophomore, whenever it is. But it starts in high school. Then you slowly hear the name. And then when they get a certain age, around junior, senior year, is where I start to watch and see what type of player they are and break them down and, just pay attention to things. And then once they get to that college year is when you fully look at them as a player, or if they go G League route, and really break them down. And now here they are. So I'm familiar with a lot of these guys. So for me, I have the scoop. But Pistons, we don't even really need to waste much time with this. I think this is as easy as it gets. They're going to be taking Cade Cunningham, 6'7", 6'8", guard, forward, however you want to, play him or use him or whatever. I think also with the Pistons, he fits great, and I'm happy for the Pistons. They did such a good job with last year's draft with getting Killian Hayes, Sadiq Bey, and Isaiah Stewart in that first round that they deserve this. Sadiq Bey played like one of the best 3-and-D guys in the league, showed he's going to be a really, really good glue guy and role player for years to come. Isaiah Stewart had bright spots. Killian Hayes was the guy that didn't have the year I think Piston fans wanted, but it was due to injury. But I think he can coexist with Cade Cunningham because Cade Cunningham can play point forward. He can play, in a lot of different ways. And then you still have Jeremy Grant, who had one of the most breakout years last year. And I think you're putting something good out there in Detroit. And, it's going to work. So shout out to Trey Weaver and Dwayne Casey. But you get the number 1 pick, and this is a no-brainer. You're going to be taking Cade Cunningham, and you won't regret it. Now, at number 2, with the Houston Rockets, I've watched and listened to a lot of different people, a lot of different theories, because this is a tricky one. This is a tricky one, and I don't think this is a no-brainer. A lot of people are saying Evan Mobley. A lot of people are saying Jalen Green. Whatever side of the fence you are, I don't think it's just a no-brainer. And then the last thing I want to say about this Rockets pick is that I don't think Jalen Suggs is in this mix at all. I think I've seen Jalen Suggs' name be mentioned subtly, and I don't think he's in this conversation. I think this is between Mobley and Green. And I'm going to be honest. I think there is no right or wrong answer because I think Evan Mobley and Christian Wood could be a twin tower front court. How much they would coexist, don't know. That would be the tough part. And if the Rockets want them to coexist, maybe the Rockets want Christian Wood to be the 5 and they want to play like that. I also think that drafting a big is hard to sell for franchises if you don't have anything already there. And the Rockets don't have anything there substantially. Kevin Porter Jr. had bright spots, but it wasn't anything crazy. It isn't like he's on a high list of the upper echelon young talents. We know Kevin Porter Jr. can hoop, but it wasn't for a full-length season. It was just bright spots. Christian Wood, we know he can hoop, but he was hurt, so I don't think that they're looking at him as their franchise centerpiece. Jalen Green answers that question and gives the fan base hope. He's probably going to put seats in the stands from day one because he is as a rookie that'll probably have nights like Anthony Edwards where he scores 30 or 40. Mobley, if you take him, he won't have those nights. Big men are harder to bring along in that rookie year. And I'm not saying that doesn't make him good. No, I'm not saying that at all because I think Evan Mobley will be good. I can damn near guarantee it. But I think Jalen Green puts you at a start that the Rockets will much more need. And I have them taking Jalen Green, man. You take Jalen Green and you let him rock out, get confidence as a scorer early on in the league. He's going to be exciting. And you put him with Christian Wood. Jay Sean Tate is a dirty work glue guy. Kenyon Martin Jr. And you just keep the thing rolling. Kevin Porter Jr. still be there. John Wall will have that last year there. And you'll move away from him. But I think that's the route. And then at number 3 for the Cleveland Cavaliers, it's a no-brainer. You have Evan Mobley. Now, what they'll do after they get Evan Mobley is something I'm going to be intrigued by. Do they pair him with Jared Allen? Do they move along from Jared Allen? Sign and trade Jalen Allen? I'm not sure. But I think now that the Rockets made the choice for you with Jalen Suggs, you take Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley defensively is going to be there, which is much needed because that backcourt of Sexton defensively just isn't going to be what you need in a league that's going to have substantial amount of guards you're facing every single night. Defensively, they're not going to be the answer. So to have a guy like him as the backline defense, and you already took Isaac Okoro last year, and you're hoping his offense catches up with his defense because then you have a perimeter guy, and you potentially have a tandem defensively with, Okoro on the perimeter, Mobley in the paint. There's some stretchability with Evan Mobley that you hope continues to pan out. Live threat for Darius Garland. And I think that would work. I would like it. You know what I mean? Evan Mobley makes the most sense. And like I said, you have options now by drafting him with Jared Allen. You know what I'm saying? Whether you want to bring Jared Allen, whether you want to sign and trade him and get some more young talent. However they plan to do it or they look to do it, options is always something worth having, in my opinion, if you're a rebuilding franchise. At 4, Toronto Raptors, the winners of the draft lottery, I guess. For them to go from 7 into the top 5 was brilliant, and I think this is a no-brainer as well. Jalen Suggs fits exactly what they want. He's a winning player, can play a lot of different ways. Defensively, he's going to be there. He has a high motor, and I think he's a guy who I've said for a very long time now, he's going to be as good as the team around him early on. You know what I'm saying? He has all-star potential, all-star talent for sure. But just like Gonzaga, the Raptors will be a team where you're putting him with Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, Gary Trent Jr., OG Anunoby, Chris Boucher. You know what I mean? The more talent you bring him into, I think the more better of a start to his career he's going to have. I don't think Jalen Suggs is a guy that I would have wanted in Houston with nothing. You know what I mean? Maybe I take that back. He would probably work in Houston because there are some weapons there, Kevin Porter Jr. and Christian Wood. But Toronto has more talent than Houston, so I think he's going to work way more easier and faster with the Raptors because they're substantial talent. Just like Gonzaga. I think he made a great decision going to Gonzaga. I don't think he's a talent that should have took a K route and went to Oklahoma State where there wasn't much help or there wasn't another name from that team that we hear in this draft. You know what I mean? It didn't have ideal spacing. No, he went to Gonzaga, Corey Kispert, Drew Timme, you know what I mean? Joey Aye, Andrew Nembhard. It was a lot of talent there, and he was able to come right in, do what he does, and go. And I think the same thing could be right there for Toronto. He's going to put pressure on defenses. Defensively, he's going to be active. He's not a crazy shooter, but he has capability of knocking down shots. He can get to the paint and be a slasher. He's not a shot creator, but off a pick and roll, he can find his shot. He just does a lot of good things. And I think he's a winning player. And I think you add him in that winning environment that Toronto has done and developed over the course of the years, he's going to fit right in. And I think they have a great pick, especially when you consider the fact that they moved up. At 5, I know a lot of y'all watch my Orlando Magic rebuild, so this is kind of crazy. But Jonathan Kaminga is right there for them to take, and I think this is a no-brainer for them. After the first 4, and even the first 5, the options of what to do aren't there as much. So I think this is a pretty easy one for them. You're going to be putting him in a front court with Jonathan Isaac, Wendell Carter / Mo Bamba. You have Chuma Okeke, Markelle Fultz is there. You're also picking again at 8. So I like this for the Magic, and this is exactly what I did in my Orlando Magic rebuild, which you can find on this channel. It's still going, and Jonathan Kaminga has played spectacular for me in his rookie year. So hopefully the Magic can get the same type of production from him in real life, and that's the 5th overall pick, Jonathan Kaminga. Scottie Barnes at 6 is amazing for OKC. OKC has done one of the best rebuilds that I think we've seen in a while, just because it's fun. It came off winning, and even this year they were kind of competent and competing for a little stretch of the year until they decided, like, no, we don't need another winning year, so we're going to rest Shea, and he's going to take care of his knee. And they played a lot of young guys, a lot of minutes to give them some time and some run. And I think that it paid off. A lot of their guys are improving. Lou Dort has improved. Darius Bazley is making strides. Pokusevski showed a lot of growth. I think Moses Brown was a steal for them. Unfortunately, they had to trade him to Boston, but I think he played great. Theo Maledon had some good minutes. Svi Mykhailiuk shot the ball. Isaiah Roby. Like, the Thunder have something going, and it's special, and I like it. And I think adding Scottie Barnes to that is the same thing. He's going to be a guy that goes there. There's no pressure. Bunch of young guys. We're going to all get better, grow together, and we're going to play a fun style of basketball with no care in the world. And the emphasis is going to be to grow your game. And I think they can play a lot of different ways with all of the talent that they have. Like I said, he can play his style of basketball. He's a point forward, and he's guarding people. Shea can play on, off the ball. Lou Dort can make shots in the corners or around the key. Bazley's a live threat. Pokusevski can play, and it can be fun and versatile with Scottie Barnes. So I think Scottie Barnes at 6 fits exactly what the OKC Thunder have been doing, and it makes all the sense in the world. This particular pick, the Golden State Warriors, I am a believer in trading their first-round picks. They have 7 and 14, 2 lottery picks. The rich get richer. But no, I seriously think that they should put 7 and 14 together with Wiggins and or Wiseman, depending on who they're trying to get, and make a run at somebody. I was a big proponent of them trying to get Sabonis from the Pacers, but Rick Carlisle is there now, so I don't know how much they're going to play with that idea. Probably going to want to win. But I still do think the Pacers at some point have to split between Turner and Sabonis. Even if they don't want to give up Sabonis, Turner is even better for the Warriors. Backline defense with some stretch ability, perfect. And I would overpay for Miles Turner if I were the Warriors, because they're trying to win and contend. And if overpaying with 7 and 14 and Wiseman or Wiggins or both is what you have to do for Miles Turner, it would work. It would work. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond, and Turner, and all you gave up was the 2 lottery picks that you didn't really care about or necessarily need, and then you gave up Wiseman. I would do it. Maybe not all 4. Now that I think about it, you wouldn't even have to give up Wiggins for contractual reasons. They'll find a way to make it work. But point is, I would really look to get rid of these picks because the Warriors are trying to win. And Steph Curry showed that with Klay Thompson coming back, Draymond Green for a full year, and they do some right off-season things, they'll be right back in the mix out west. But for the sake of the video, because I'm not going to draw up some trade and I don't know what they're thinking or whose value is what, we'll pick for them. And I think at 7, I know a lot of people are liking Davion Mitchell for them. Not me. I'm going to go a different direction. And we're going to take Moses Moody. Moses Moody. For me, Moses Moody just fits them right. You know, his floor is 3-and-D. You know what I mean? At the worst, Moses Moody is a 3-and-D, and I think if you put him in the Warriors system and the way that they play basketball, he fits right in. He could play right with Curry and Clay and Draymond. Lengthy shooter, moves without the basketball, did a really good job at Arkansas of at times putting the ball on the floor, pump fake, 1 dribble, 2 dribble into a mid-range shot again to the basket. Definitely still has to improve because he's a young player, but I think in that type of environment with Golden State, brings the pressure down, allow him to just be him with very little expectations, and you're just around winning players and a winning culture, he would thrive tremendously. And sometimes when you're a team like the Warriors, you're not necessarily looking for home run picks or depending on somebody to be a breakout star or anything. You can take a guy like Moses Moody at 7, even if some other people don't look at him as a top 10, top 7 pick. I personally do, depending on what team it is, and I think the Warriors should do it. At 8, the Magic are back on the clock. Now, the Magic just took at 5 Jonathan Kaminga. Like I said, they already have Jonathan Isaac. You have Chumo Kiki. You have Markelle Fultz, Wendell, and Bamba. What they don't have, to me, is a guy like James Booknight, who I have them taking at 8. And again, James Booknight is a bucket. And they don't have that. They don't have a perimeter scorer anymore because Evan Fournier is going. Terrence Ross is probably going to be a trade chip for a playoff team. Gary Harris isn't somebody that you're hoping to have for a long-term Magic rebuild. I think James Booknight is special offensively. I think he can be really, really, really good. I am higher on him than others just because I think he shoots the ball better than his numbers presented themselves at UConn. You have to understand and put context there. He was pretty much a one-man offense at UConn. And if you watch, he has to me some Jamal Murray in his game. I don't want to put the Jamal Murray comparison on him, but I think he has some of that in his game with the shot making. He can get to the basket, 3-level score, can finish when he's there. Know he's going to knock down free throw shots. So, pick and roll. So I think that the Magic get a nice steal there at 8, considering the fact that they just took Kaminga, a defensive guy who can also score in different ways. I like Jonathan Kaminga's scoring repertoire, minus the fact that he's not like some crazy lights out shooter. I think that the jump shot will get there, and I think he can be like a 33 or 35, 36% 3-point shooter. But he reminds me of like a early Jeff Green coming out of Georgetown, Jonathan Kaminga. So those are the Magic picks. Cool. They take James Booknight. We're on the clock for the Sacramento Kings at 9. The Kings, to me, may take Jalen Johnson or Keon Johnson. Those are 2 guys that they may take. But if the Kings are smart and they want to build on what they did last year, because they had an incredible draft last year, especially considering the fact that Halliburton fell to them at 12. Just build on that, man. Build on that. Continue to put around De'Aaron Fox good, smart, skillful. That's what I want to highlight. Skillful basketball players. And I think they did that with Tyrese Halliburton. So if I am the Sacramento Kings, I'm going to continue to build on that. And I am going to take Franz Wagner out of Michigan. He's 6'9". He's not lights out shooter, but I think he's a respectable shooter that may have a season or 2 where he does shoot 40%. You know what I mean? Defensively, he does a lot of good things. Offensively, he knows how to find people. He can cut and move without the basketball. He's size. He's versatile. Play him a lot of different ways, and I think that's the type of basketball the Kings should be looking to play around De'Aaron Fox. And I think they did that last year with Halliburton. So you take Franz Wagner, and you build on that. Keon Johnson and Jalen Johnson are such the typical Kings pick. You know what I mean? They're the names. They were highly talked about coming into this year. Their highlight reels. And I like both players. I think they have potential. But I think for the Kings, continue to build with skill. Stay away from upside and talent and highlights. But get skillful basketball players, because doing that last year with Halliburton, gave you a nice season. I think if minus some injuries, they would have had a little play-in tournament potential. And I think they should continue to build with that type of philosophy when drafting. Skill, skill, skill. Number 10 with the New Orleans Pelicans is easy. I was very, very, very upset with them last year because they were in a similar situation, I think, at 11. Was it 11? Yeah, it was like 11, 12, or even 13. One of those picks. 13th, I think it was. And they took Kyra Lewis, who I like, but Aaron Nesmith was on the board. And they needed shooting because you have Zion, Ingram, and Zoe. And everybody with a brain knows if you just keep that 3 and you just put them shooting around them, it's no brainer. They didn't do it last year. They drafted a guy at Lonzo's spot. Now Lonzo is potentially out of the door. Zion is upset. Ingram didn't like the coaching. He is upset. They fired Stan Van Gundy after 1 year. Still don't have a coach. So we're going to make this very simple for them. You just take shooting. Corey Kispert has size and shooting. I don't even need to say anything, right? It's just common sense. 11, the Hornets. Like I talked about with the Warriors, sometimes you have to just go with what's for you, right? And a team that I want to give a lot of credit to who did this a couple years ago is the Phoenix Suns. Remember when the Phoenix Suns took Cam Johnson 11th and everybody was like, what the even Kobe White, his teammate from UNC, was like, huh? I was one of the people too. I'm like, bro, I like Cam Johnson. He's going to be 3-and-D, 6'9". He's going to be outstanding in the NBA. But why take him at 11? Just trade back, if anything. The Phoenix Suns said, forget that. We don't care about how high we take a guy. If we have an idea in our mind and a way that we want to do things, we're going to trust that, and we're not going to care about where anybody else has anybody else on their mock or what we should take. That's the guy we want. He fits what we do. We're confident in what we do, so we're taking him. And I think the Hornets should do the same thing. You still have Davion Mitchell up here. You still have Keon and Jalen Johnson. Those guys are, highlight reels and names. Guy you should take, Kai Jones out of Texas. Take Kai Jones. You have LaMelo, your 6'8" point guard. You've done a good job already with the pieces that you have that complement him. Devontae Graham didn't shoot the ball as well as he did the previous year last year, but he's still a respectable shot maker, and he can have a bounce back season and shoot 40% again with ease. Terry Rozier is a shot creator who can shoot the ball and play with LaMelo. You have the highlight film Miles Bridges, who is the alley-oop guy for LaMelo. PJ Washington, pick and pop, pick and roll guy for Melo. The only thing you don't have is a backline center. Cody Zeller's out the door. You probably won't be bringing him back. You probably shouldn't. You'll probably chase Rashawn Holmes and try to give him a try. Depending on how much he wants, that would be a great decision. Andre Drummond, don't know if you want to go that direction, but regardless if you get Rashawn Holmes or some center like that, Kai Jones is a guy that fits the youth movement, and he allows you to play the same type of basketball that you want, and you don't need him to hit superstar level. You don't need him to reach his fullest potential. If he does, great, but you're not relying on that. He's a guy that can move his feet defensively. He can guard on the switches. He has rim protection, upside and potential, and he runs the floor because he comes from track and field. This is a guy who was a track star who transformed into a basketball player. You put that track star speed with LaMelo Ball in the front court in transition, he's going to outrun every center, and there's highlights there. Plus, he has three-point shooting potential, and he can space the floor and be a respectable shooter. Now your offense is open and as dynamic as we ever thought. Kai Jones is the pick. Hornets, do it. At 12, another no-brainer for the San Antonio Spurs. These guys have Jakob. They have talent. Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, DeJounte Murray, all of these guys. Take Alperen Sengun. He's a Spurs center if I've ever seen one. Passing potential, plays at the top of the key, loves to post up like the old guys. This is just perfect. He's a San Antonio Spurs type of player. I think there's passing potential. I think there's shooting potential. I wouldn't bank on the shooting potential, but in this league, all you need is for a guy to be respectable. So I think he can turn out to be a respectable guy. Back to the basket. And I think he's going to fit with the young culture. I know they have Jakob, but I think this guy with the right team in San Antonio specifically, he could thrive, man. I think he can really thrive. Jalen Johnson will be there as well. I wouldn't mind seeing Jalen Johnson with the Spurs and a lot of the other young talent, because you can allow him to handle the ball as a point forward in some ways, in certain instances. You know, they have the shot doctor over there that can work with his shot, and you put him on a team around DeJounte, Keldon Johnson, Derek White, you know what I mean, and that type of defense, his defensive upside, that could be scary as well. So that makes me want to take my pick back. Do I get a Spurs Jalen Johnson or Sengun? Tough. I'm gonna keep him with Sengun. On the clock now is the Indiana Pacers. We're down to our last two picks. I'm gonna do something because the Indiana Pacers just got a new head coach, Rick Carlisle, coming from the Mavericks. Shout out to Rick Carlisle. I remember when he coached them when I was a kid. He had a head full of hair. I'll never forget those teams. I like those Pacers teams. I'm gonna have them taking Davion Mitchell out of Baylor. Probably going to lose T.J. McConnell to free agency. Keon Johnson. I like Keon Johnson. Wouldn't mind him on the Pacers at all, but they have O'Shea Brissett and just different guys who play that role. I would like to see them take Davion Mitchell. Davion Mitchell, to me, looking at it from Rick Carlisle's mindset, would be like a Jalen Brunson. You know what I mean? A guy that can come off the bench. He's going to make shots. He has defensive tenacity. He has that over Jalen Brunson. Winning basketball player. Slasher. And like I said, shot-making ability. This is a guy that also gives you different looks. He can coexist on the floor with Malcolm Brogdon and Karis LeVert. You know what I mean? You put him in certain stretches and you move Brogdon to 2, LeVert to 3. Warren is your 4. And again, I really feel like they're going to be deciding between Miles Turner and Sabonis. Whichever way they go, you can play a little faster, smaller, and different than they've come accustomed to. And like I said, you still have the Jeremy Lambs, the O'Shea Brissetts they seem to love. Justin Holiday, if you're bringing him back. So I like Davion Mitchell for them. I really, really do. And 14th, again, with the Warriors, you don't really have to hit, or you're not looking for a superstar on all of that. At first, I did like Zaire Williams, but then when I look closely into Zaire Williams, he has a lot of similarities to Andrew Wiggins. So with that, I think they just take Keon Johnson out of Tennessee, man. You already took Moses Moody at 7. Why not take Keon Johnson and a chance on him? You bring him into that winning culture and environment, and his dogness and his gritty and his defensive energy and the open court highlight reel. You put him with Draymond, you know, under that leadership and again in that winning culture and environment, and you may get a little diamond in the rough who fell to you. I do think if he were to go how my mock is at 14, I think the Wizards are mad as hell that he was one pick away. I think the Wizards would benefit with Keon Johnson. I can really see him out there in Washington. You move down Rui Hachimura to the 4 now. Thomas Bryant, Daniel Gafford is the 5. Bertans is coming off the bench with stretchability. But that's going to be a wrap to the first round mock, 1 through 14. It's tough, man. It's tough. I know we're going to have a lot of people in the comments disagreeing. I have no problem with that. That's the best part about the draft, is that there's so many different ways and perspectives to do it. If you gave me this again and you told me to do it again, I may have some different decisions. I really don't know about that 12 pick for the Spurs. Sengun just seems like he makes the most sense, but I can really see Jalen Johnson over there in San Antonio with the rest of the young guys. Because they haven't had a 4 in a while. Since Aldridge got older and you know, left, that 4 hole has been really vacant for them. They had DeMar DeRozan playing 4, Trey Lyles they thought was going to be something, and he didn't really be the player I think that we all thought he could be over there. I was high on him going to the Spurs. Jalen Johnson makes sense because that 4 hole for them has been vacant. But we'll see where Jalen Johnson goes in part 2, which will be 15 through 30. Appreciate y'all. Please give me every single thought that you have in the comments. Like I said, so many different perspectives. There's really no wrong answers or right or wrong answers when you're doing the mock time. So I can't wait to see what you guys think. As always, I am Pee Wee the Plug. This is NBA Weekly, and I will see you guys for part 2. Peace.